My name is Monika Urbaniak, and I see myself as a metalsmith, but also a mixed media artist. In recent years, I've been making art and studio jewelry, so most of my work is in jewelry. So I actually went to NASCAD University back in Halifax. I graduated from there a while ago in 2008. And my concentration of studies was actually in textiles and drawing. So not in metal, but most of my work did focus on sculpture and 3D. So, you know, over the years, I've worked with fiber, with paper, and then in metal. But I think it's that my fascination with sculptural possibilities, it led me to jewelry because it's kind of like your little wearable sculpture. And it's very intimate because it's small, but you can take it with you. And then when I moved to Vancouver, I took various courses at Vancouver Community College, all in jewelry, and different workshops with different artists, and kind of, you know, that I would say it's a journey. So I continue to learn. It's an interesting question because I just, you know, I have always needed to make things. So if I didn't make things, I just felt something was missing or off. So that's definitely just part of it since I was a kid. But my inspiration in general, it just comes from all things sculptural, whether it's nature. Nature is a huge inspiration for me. But also man-made. I'm just drawn to different textures and unexpected. You know, a piece of old scrappy metal, it makes me happy. some of it, you know, those imperfections and everything like asymmetry, something irregular. Like I don't love when things are perfect. So yeah, that's kind of well, definitely, yes. Art making can be a lonely endeavor, and I've moved so much around, and I left, you know, a lot of my community back in Nova Scotia. But because of social media, it's just so easy to connect. And then also here, when I joined different organizations, so Vancouver Metal Arts, and then also Cadorn, our jewelry society, of course, Craft Council of BC, and SNAG. All those institutions, I found they had different events, different platforms for me to connect with other artists. And it was quite important for me, especially when I moved here. I kind of took, you know, a detour from what I did in textiles and in what I did back in Nova Scotia. So finding that community and finding artists that would support me and encourage me was really important for me. To a degree, I think, you know, metalsmithing in general, it's such an ancient art, and many techniques have not changed at all over thousands of years. So that piece is appealing to me. You know, somebody who was shaping metal with the hammer thousands of years ago, like I'm still shaping that metal in a similar way. So that I always remember that. And I'm definitely not a purist when it comes to materials though, because I would say to the contrary, I like mixing different materials and love to experiment, just incorporate found pieces. So I would say it's, you know, it's a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to that question. But I have huge respect for all of those artists that have come before me. And metalsmithing and art jewelry, like it kind of is on a bit of a, sometimes it not the same, different ideas inform the making, but obviously you always want to progress and you always want to push the boundaries of your own making. I've always preferred the actual, the mark of handmade on things that I interact with. But, you know, the technology is really important, especially in the process of production, which in jewelry and in my making, there is a studio part of my practice, and it's more of the production piece. And then there's art jewelry, where it's a different avenue altogether. But so for me, it's all about the process. So if it's just technological process, so 3D printing and jewelry is a good example. It's not appealing to me because I find inspiration just in making and working with my hands. So it's not really about maintaining traditional methods per se, because of me loving to experiment and my mixed media side. But, you know, that intimate process of creating, some technology obviously needs to be there. But yeah, I find I work better in the context of just intimate hand making. Most of it, if I can make it here in the studio, you know, not in a big industrial space, that makes me happy. When I was at school, I had a teacher who, we talked about weaving, obviously, weaving by hand. She goes, there's not really a need to weave a simple linen because machines do it better, you can faster, more efficient. But I still would sit and weave this linen piece of fabric, and it just made me happy, just the process of weaving and seeing each thread, you know. So it's interesting. It is definitely more about the process, but I have to say with 3D printing and some of the recent technologies in metal arts that are being incorporated, artists make beautiful things. And so I think it's just your personal aesthetic or how you like to work and interact with materials. I actually grew up in Poland. Back a while ago. So during that time when I was growing up, there was a lot of appreciation of just handmade and fine craft, and more funding, way more funding than there is now. So my favorite pastime would be going to different galleries and just checking out the art. And it was, at that time, it was a big textile, you know, back like late 70s, early 80s. It was when there's those huge, humongous sculptures, textile sculptures. Magdalena Bakanowicz was one of the artists that really influenced me from that time. And I was just fascinated by all those fiber creations, like bigger than, you know, half of the building. So, very tactile. So definitely the love of texture and anything tactile, I think that definitely was influenced by that time. And my love of fine craft, just that appreciation and growing up within that environment, that definitely helped. So, you know, it was a long time when I left my country, and it was in the mid 80s. And then I lived all across Canada, and I found the true home here in BC and Vancouver Island. So since moving here, and especially living, you know, in nature, that connection to nature is present in everything that we do, and it definitely has informed the way I work more so here than anywhere else. So I would say I incorporate natural materials. You know, I will go to the beach and I get excited about the little piece of metal that is all in by the ocean, or a little broken toy, or shells, pebbles, all pieces of wood. I started incorporating wood into my jewelry, and that all has happened here. So, you know, you name it. But also because living here, you're so immersed in nature, you feel more connected. So I think the sustainability and really being more mindful in how I make work and what happens with the work later and how much I make of it, it definitely has become part of my process. I think so. It's hard when you're in it because you don't really think about it. But I'll give you an example. I also lived in Vancouver in mid-90s. And at that time, I worked with just graphic design. And there was there were some postcards that I've designed and birthday cards, like kind of based on nature. And I moved to Halifax because I was going to school, and I went there to local shops just so I could sell my design, and so they would carry my cards. And the person that looked at me, looked at my cards, and he goes, "Oh my God, I don't know if they're going to sell here. They're very West Coast." But I didn't tell him that I was from the West Coast. So that was the first time like, I was not really as aware of those differences. And so, you know, to some degree, there definitely is based on that example. But a lot of art obviously is also informed by the nature and landscape and indigenous art of the region. So I would say definitely there is. And depending on the medium, it's more apparent than not. You know, our jewelry itself, some of the pieces can exist in any context, but there's definitely a lot of work that is inspired by, you know, the nature here, the ocean, and the issues that are very relevant within that region. Well, there are a couple of things going on through BC Craft Council, so I'm trying to prepare. And definitely the holiday season is a busy time for me. And, you know, there's always more projects than you can handle. And I have, you know, ambition to participate in many different things, but then the life takes over. And if I participate in one, that's a win. But in the context of this exhibition, I'm so excited and honored to be part of it. It's very close to my heart just because the issues of migration and finding home here within British Columbia and being in the company of really such great artists, it's great. And I really want to thank you for that.